One half I, 32M, have been married to my wife, 31F, for 7 years. For the last 4 of those, I've been the sole provider. I'm a project manager for a restoration firm, and while I was pulling 60-hour weeks, my wife was finding herself by blowing through my savings on boutique business ideas that never made a dime. To make matters worse, her parents, my FIL and MIL, have been living rent-free in a property I inherited from my grandfather. They lost their savings in a crypto scam, and being the good guy, I stepped up. The breaking point happened last Tuesday. I walked in from work, exhausted and covered in drywall dust, to find a full-blown committee meeting in my living room. My wife, her parents, and her deadbeat brother, 28M, were huddled over luxury condo brochures. There wasn't even dinner on the table. My wife didn't even look up from her wine. She told me they decided that the rental house was too small and beneath her parents. Her plan? I was to sell my inherited rental property, use the cash to pay down our current mortgage, and then buy a massive dual-living suite where they could all live with us. I told her flat out, no. That rental is my inheritance and my retirement hedge. I'm already housing her parents for free, and I wasn't about to liquidate my future to fund a communal living experiment. Her brother scoffed and called me greedy, saying it was family property now. My wife stood up, looking at me with pure disgust, and said, "You're so obsessed with yours and mine. You think you're the king because you pay the bills? Grow up. You're just a paycheck, and honestly, a replaceable one at that. Accept it. If you won't take care of my family, I'll find someone who actually values us." The room went dead silent. She told me there were guys at her gym who would jump at the chance to take over my lifestyle. She finished by asking if I was going to sign the listing agreement or if we had a real problem. I just nodded. I told her, "I understand exactly where I stand now. You're right. If I'm replaceable, then there's no reason for me to be the one holding all the stress. I'll take care of everything." She actually smirked, thinking she'd bullied me into submission. I left that night and checked into a hotel. I didn't go to work the next day. Instead, I went to my lawyer. Since the rental was an inheritance kept in a separate account, it was a non-marital asset. However, she had spent over $80,000 of our joint money on her businesses over the years, money I could prove was marital waste. I decided to replace myself with surgical precision. I sent a text to the family group chat. "I've thought about what was said. I agree I'm the wrong fit. I'm stepping aside so you can find someone who meets your standards." Then I ghosted them. The first thing I did was handle the rental. Since the in-laws had no lease and paid 0 rent, my lawyer drafted a 30-day notice to quit. But since the utilities were in my name and the house was technically vacant, I just shut them off. By Friday, the house was freezing and the Wi-Fi, which her brother used all day to play video games, was dead. Next, I went to the bank. I didn't drain the joint account, but I took exactly my 50% share and moved it. I also called the dealership for the luxury SUV my wife drove. I was the primary guarantor on the lease, and she hadn't made a single payment in years. I told them I was withdrawing my support. They called her and gave her 48 hours to find her own financing or they'd repo the car. The replaceable comment was recorded on my home security system. In my state, that's a huge deal for showing the breakdown of the marriage. When I filed for divorce, her family tried to play tough. My FIL called me from a neighbor's phone, screaming that the power was out and my wife was hysterical. I told him, "I can't help you. I'm replaceable, remember? Ask one of those guys from her gym to pay the electric bill." My wife then tried to go nuclear. She called my boss and told him I was stealing materials from work sites to fix up my rental property. Luckily, my boss knows I keep meticulous receipts. I had every single invoice for my rental's upkeep paid for from my personal inheritance account. My boss actually recorded her call and handed it to my lawyer. While she was busy trying to get me fired, her own family started to crumble. Her brother tried to break into the main breaker box at the rental house to bypass the utility shutoff. I caught it on the Ring camera and called the cops. He wasn't arrested, but he was trespassed from the property. That's when the tide turned. My Emile sent me a private message begging for mercy. She said they were cold, had no money for a hotel, and that they'd make my wife apologize. I didn't answer. I just screenshotted it and sent it to my wife, telling her that it looked like her backups weren't stepping up to pay the bills. My wife then tried to sell my personal collection of vintage watches and power tools on Facebook Marketplace to get cash. I had a friend buy them to secure the evidence, then had my lawyer hit her with a cease and desist for the dissipation of assets. The court issued a restraining order on her selling anything else. By the time we got to the mediation table, she was a wreck. She'd lost the car, the house was freezing, and her gym guys had all blocked her the second she asked for a loan. Her parents were literally sitting in the hallway of the law office because they had nowhere else to go. She tried to play the "I didn't mean it, it was just a fight" card. I didn't budge. I told her, "You declared a reality. You told me I was just a paycheck. So I took the paycheck away. I let you see what life looks like when I'm actually replaced." My lawyer then dropped the bomb. We were seeking a credit for the $80,000 she wasted on her fake businesses, plus fair market rent for the 4 years her parents lived in my house. The total was over 6 figures. She realized that if she didn't sign my settlement, which gave me the house equity and protected my inheritance, she would be in debt for the rest of her life.
She signed.
She had 14 days to leave her house. My in-laws had 10 days to get out of the rental. When the move-out day came, she tried to bring her parents to our house to stay. I showed up with a sheriff's deputy and the exclusive possession order. Maya Miles started screaming in the driveway that I was a monster. I just looked at my wife and asked, "Where are the gym guys?" I thought I was easily replaced. The best part? The family group chat exploded. Her brother told her she'd ruined their lives and he wouldn't let her stay with him because she'd lost the golden goose. Her own parents were blaming her for being homeless. They didn't take my side because they liked me. They took my side because they realized that by insulting me, she'd evicted them from their comfortable life. I sold the rental for a huge profit and kept it all. Our main house sold, and after her waste was deducted, she walked away with almost nothing. Last I heard, she's working retail and her 65-year-old dad is working mall security just to afford a tiny apartment for the 3 of them. She wanted to see if I was replaceable. Turns out, the lifestyle I provided was the only thing they actually valued, and that's the one thing she couldn't replace. If you think this paycheck did the right thing by cashing out, hit that subscribe button for more stories where the doormat finally learns how to lock the door. Would you like me to tweak any to have specific part of the story, or perhaps expand on the brother's entitlement in a follow-up?